Good
Andrew
morning.
Barij. Good morning, Chantel.
How are you, Andrew Barij?
I'm actually very okay.
How is your Thursday morning?
Thursday morning it's been a little bit tricky, coming and, some surprises on the way. Before you know it. But
I'm not going to ask about the surprises. I'm not going to ask about the surprises.
Otherwise, hope everything is well.
Well, all is well, and it's time for us to check out what is happening across the East African countries,
Exactly.
and that is on our Karibu, East Africa.
Very
and
perfect.
We are starting off with Kenya. Kenya signs a 360 billion Kenya shillings loan deal with Afrexim Bank. Now, Kenya is set to benefit from a Kenyan shillings 369.9 billion, that is 3 billion US dollars program from African Export-Import Bank. This was announced during a meeting between President William Ruto and Professor Benedict Okey Orama, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the African Export-Import Bank. Now, during the meeting held at the State House in Nairobi, that is on Thursday, Professor Orama said the bank was excited by the opportunity to roll out this package of financing as part of its efforts to support Kenya as it navigates the current unprecedented global economic challenges. Now, speaking of the meeting, Dr. Ruto said the engagement was fruitful and would enable Kenya to interact more with one of Africa's leading development finance institutions. A technical team drawn from the Kenyan government and Afrexim Bank is expected to begin working on the structure of the support. A significant part of the support will involve the establishment of a Kenya Climate Change Adaptation Facility. Underpinning this, Afrexim Bank will put in place a 98.64 million shillings, that is Kenyan shillings, that is 800 million US dollars, financing towards building 100 dams, which will help Kenya double its irrigated area while paying particular attention to regions experiencing water shortages as a result of the impact of climate change. Under this scheme still, Kenya plans to double the land area under irrigation from the current 670,000 acres to 1.4 million acres in the next 3 years. This is aimed at improving the country's food production while reducing its over-reliance on rain-fed agriculture. That is what is happening in Kenya right there, and the efforts that are being put in place by the president who was elected just this year into office. And we are seeing the end goal.
Exactly.
We are seeing him now getting to a point where he feels like, okay, for food security, this is what we need to do. We need to address the problem from the root.
From the root.
And the root is you don't have to depend only on rain, because as Ugandans, we have seen that the changes have been there.
Exactly.
We've seen that the seasons where you expect that, say for example, usually those who are in agriculture will tell you during November, October, November stretch to December, there was usually rain.
Exactly.
But you'll agree with me that, for example, last year December was really hot.
Last year, actually,
the biggest part of December was really hot.
Very hot.
Very hot.
Yeah.
So because of these climatic changes, I'm seeing he's handling the problem from the root. I don't know what your take could be.
Yeah, I guess that's really very key, because Kenya, because according to a report here, which says that Kenya's high rainfall areas constitute about 10% that's of Kenya's arable land and produce 70% of its national, of course, commercial agriculture. But of course, the farmers in the semi-arid regions produce about 20%. That's of the output, while the arid regions account for 10%. That's of the output. But still, productivity remains relatively low, and this all comes about to that entire aspect of rain-fed agriculture, and we know its consequences and disadvantages because it's unreliable. It's subject to climate changes.
Yes,
and of course, it will be limiting productivity in agriculture.
Well, this is a very great move that we are seeing. The only challenge I'm seeing is that we've had to borrow. I'm speaking now as if Kenyan. We have had to borrow, and we all do know that public debt has really put Uganda in a very tight spot, because we have already gone over the ceiling. We are above the ceiling. I think we're still like on top of the ceiling. We have gone past what we should have been borrowing. Yes.
Yeah, actually, it all comes about how are the funds used, probably the allocation of the funds, because any country.
Are we getting
money,
value actually
exactly,
for the funds borrowed?
Yes. Creating that value, and of course attaching that value regarding that.
Yes. We cross over.
All right, now we head to Rwanda, and of course we see that Rwandan business actors tipped on a new income, that's new income tax law. As the business players in the ecosystem have been tipped on the new provisions and changes made under the new income tax law to avoid any mistakes as it comes into force. One of the reasons for most of the proposed changes under law number that's 027 2022 of 20, that's on 20th October 2022, is to accommodate Kigali International Financial Center's mandate to promote and develop Rwanda as a leading financial destination for international investment and across border transactions, that is in Africa. In a workshop organized by the BDO Rwanda on November 18th, business people, accountants, auditors, and tax specialists convened together to explore the new amendments and identify whether there are gaps that still need to be tackled. Beatrice, that's Mujawayezu, that's the Director of Business Service Outsourcing, or known as BDO Rwanda, saying that the tax law changes that come at say that with tax law changes that come at the right time, the government has prioritized citizens given the current economic environment. And according to the Ministry of Economic Planning and Finance, to implement the tax reform, the government will forego, that's more than, we're talking about 43 billion, that's in the Rwandan currency, and of course for 2 years, and of course including the 20.7 billion for phase 1 of implementation, that's consisting of tax waiver on the small income earners, and of course about also 22.5 billion for phase 2, which is about of course the tax cut. However, she finds out that there are still some gaps that should be addressed, such as facilitating business operators in airplanes to give out the EBM receipts, of course the EBM receipts version 2, and also easing the process of transitioning from individual, of course, business companies. So we are looking at Rwandan business actors tipped on a new income tax law.
Well, taxes are very essential when it comes to countries. The only challenge comes when these taxes are not utilized the way they should be utilized.
They should be utilized.
Yes, that's where most people actually find the issues. But if you are taxing and the service delivery is good, then these countrymen or residents do not have to worry about the taxes, because they know they're going to be getting value at the end of it all. Yes.
Okay. Exactly. Right.
Well, but away from that, we cross over and go to DRC. Now, Democratic Republic of Congo puts mining deal with China under review as targets windfall mineral profits. And the Democratic Republic of Congo is seeking additional investment in infrastructure from China in terms of a review it is conducting with a mining deal dating back 10 years. Bloomberg News cited Congolese Prime Minister, that is Jean-Michel Sama Lukonde, as saying that 2008 infrastructure for minerals agreement with China, which includes the Saiko Mines copper cobalt mining project, ought to be reworked. Speaking in an interview with the Newswire on the sidelines of the COP27 climate summit in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh, Lukonde said, "When we look at the balance, it looks like they have taken more minerals than what has been built in terms of infrastructure." I would like to say this. Congo is waking up a bit late. Additional payments were warranted because the project was making super profits due to a surge in commodity prices, he said. Now, Cycle Mines produced 155,630 tons of copper, 886 tons of cobalt in 2020. That is according to Bloomberg, citing government data. Now, China has spent about $900 million on infrastructure so far, well short of what was required in the agreement, according to Lukonde. Now, Congo is in dispute with another Chinese company involving the giant copper and cobalt mine, Tenke, and this is Tenke Fungurume Mining SA. In July, a court-appointed administrator imposed a block on exports. The mine is jointly owned by what we call Gesa Mines, the state-owned base metals company, and China's CMOC group, which owns 80%. Now, CMOC and Gesa Mines are in dispute after it was claimed by Congolese that CMOC had been lying about Tenke Fungurume's mineral reserves. And Geka Mines said it is owed $7.6 billion by CMOC Group in royalties and interest. The state minister sued in 2021 to have a temporary administrator appointed to run the company while the two partners worked out their differences, said Bloomberg at the time. Now, Lukonde said Congo wanted its share of windfall tax in cash rather than in form of additional infrastructure investment, a proposal that's yet to be decided on to enable it to address pressing economic and security challenges in the east of the country. In terms of infrastructure, they are very open, he said. We really just have to quickly fix all the projects that need to be done, and it will be done. In terms of the profits, they are suggesting that maybe we could add it to the infrastructure. That is according to Lukonde, and he seems not to be amused with this kind of arrangement. Even if it were me, I wouldn't be amused.
Trust me, that agreement had a little bit, terms of the agreement were a bit unfavorable to the Congolese. Yeah.
And it takes me back to who makes these deals on behalf of the Congolese.
Actually, it was during the government of Kabila.
Yes.
When that 2008.
That means if the people you're putting in power do not have the capacity to make deals that are going to benefit the countrymen. I'll bring it back to Uganda. We have seen deals that have been very bad deals for Uganda. And we have seen the Ministry of Finance in a lot of trouble with the public, with COSASE, because of the same issues. So I think if leaders, say presidents, are appointing ministers and appointing leaders in certain places, they should be placing people that are worthy to be in those places. People that qualify technically with experience to be able to provide give you the best results that you are looking for. Short of that, if you're putting relatives that do not qualify, then you are making a mistake, and you are failing your country and the people that put you in that seat.
Yeah, actually very perfectly said, because as we are reviewing this report, that statement that was made at the COP27 by the Egyptian leader, that it seems like there were more minerals that were taken as compared to the infrastructure that was set up by the Chinese companies. I happened to come across a report that was saying that some of these Chinese companies actually were faithful to bring this money, but this money still research shows that it went to some other private contracting companies that were owned by the family of the president at the time. So corruption scandals and allegations. But definitely, however much we say, they say that it was unfavorable, like more minerals were taken, but I believe these people really played their part. But due to corruption and lack of accountability and assessment, so led to where Congo is lately, because it's really struggling.
And Congo has been a victim of exploitation.
A lot of exploitation.
And I like to use the example of Karamoja. We've had a number of NGOs situated, for example, in Karamoja.
Yeah.
Or we are sending relief, or we are trying to cause transformation for very many years.
Yes.
But we don't see results. The lives of the people in Karamoja never changed.
Yeah.
Same applies to Congo. We've had a number of NGOs. These companies go there and they're saying they're going to cause change and help these Congolese, but I definitely do agree with the gentleman that these people are taking more than they should be taking.
More than they should be taking.
You had a deal, but you can't be greedy.
Okay, I think to some extent, I would a little bit be fair to these other NGOs that come, but it still comes back to the society leaders when they are negotiating these terms. Remember, they are the ones, they stand as the bridge between the people and these NGOs to create the impact. So we don't know whatever is said there vis-a-vis what is really said by them when it comes to presenting the terms of the deal. And I think I would be a little bit fair. I wouldn't try to try to push the ball to squeeze them so hard about exploitation.
Well, we can say that the plain truth is some of those leaders are actually involved in the exploitation. They are involved. But let's cross over and go to the rest of the world across borders. Let's take a look at Smart Means Business internationally. What is in there now? We started with South Africa's business confidence dropping slightly in the fourth quarter. Now, this is according to the survey. South Africa's business confidence inched down in the fourth quarter as a rebound in building confidence was offset by the first significant falls in wholesale and retail confidence since the COVID-19 pandemic, data showed as of yesterday. Now, a survey by the Rand Merchant Bank, that is RMB, compiled by the Bureau for Economic Research, showed that the business confidence index dropped 1 point to 38 in the fourth quarter compared to the prior 3 months. The drop was limited by regained momentum in the residential building sector thanks to seasonal factors. The survey of more than 1,000 executives showed that building confidence continued its upward trend to climb 17 points to 46. However, wholesale confidence fell from 50 to 37 points and retail confidence dropped 9 points to 42. Now, surging inflation has curtailed consumer spending, while measures to counter spending counter load shedding hours have raised operation costs in the retail space. There is no denying the fact that the economy would be doing so much better if it were not for the slow pace that continues to describe the government's efforts in addressing growth-damaging constraints such as insufficient electricity, poorly functioning ports, and a failing railway network. RMB chief economist, that is Etienne Leroux, said the survey showed that the recovery in residential building activity and increased spending on renewable energy projects and capital goods, among others, revealed higher fixed investment in some of these sectors. Also, employment seems to be expanding again in service sectors such as hotels and hospitality as an ongoing recovery in international tourism drove up demand. That is what is happening in South Africa. Well, it turns out we are not the only ones suffering in a number of ways.
Yeah.
So it's now upon the governments to do what they can and every individual to play their part to make sure that these effects of COVID-19 that we are still suffering up to now, and as they're seemingly going to stretch for some more years. Yes, we could see the stretch going up to the next 2-3 years. We could.
It's possible, accompanied with the current crisis and also a prediction of a recession, of a
we
global
are
recession.
Actually already in the recession.
Okay,
it's only because people are not feeling it as such. But I'm telling you, if things do not change in the next 2 to 3 years, we are still going to see worse in terms of what the recession can do to different countries.
Okay.
Yes.
But definitely, we hope the central banks of those given countries really try to do something regarding strengthening, increasing the interest rates, hiking the interest rates to ensure that, because we are looking at inflation here, the global inflation, and quite so many banks are really trying to, the central banks of those given countries are trying to level.
Well, we've also seen the Bank of Uganda increasing the interest rate.
10 basis points.
Borrowing rate, yes.
Yeah, very.
And of course, this also has an impact on us out here.
The businesses, and of course, the costs of production increase. Loan, you get a loan, and because they're commercial. And the funny thing is that if you borrowed it at a certain percentage and the bank rate increases, for example 10%, the bank will really want you to recover that loan at the current bank rate. So you can see how tricky that is.
Yet the argument you had was totally different in the first place. If you have a good lawyer, you might be able to win that case, though.
Well, hope so. All right, away from that, now we head to New Zealand, and of course we see the cost of living stepping up. Of course, New Zealand steps up to fight against the soaring prices, and of course we see that the Reserve Bank of New Zealand increased its rate of interest by 0.7%, so 0.75% points. That's to 4.25%. This was the biggest rise since the rate, known as the official cash rate, was introduced. That it was in 1999. It comes after the country's annual inflation rate stood at 7.2% in 3 months to the end of September. Like much of the rest of the world, New Zealand has seen the cost of living rise sharply as the global economy emerges. That's from the pandemic, and the war in Ukraine has pushed the cost of the fuel and food. And of course, the central bank updated forecasts and also pointed that's to the country's economy falling into, of course, a recession in September. That's next year. And of course, a recession is usually defined as when an economy shrinks for 2 to 3 month periods or quarters. That's in a row. Now,
well, the countries that seem to be suffering are quite many here.
Quite so many. and then for a viewer right there to really understand what these people are going through, Chantal, let me tell you something. I saw there is a report here that says that the cost of living in New Zealand for one person that's in a major city right now is between $3,000 to $4,000 per month. So
that is the cost of living.
Okay. Now, a family of 4 can expect to need $5,000 to $6,000 per month to live on.
If you convert that to the Ugandan shilling,
that's about 20 M a month.
Well, I would like to know the value of the currency in New Zealand and vis-a-vis the dollar to see how bad the situation is. However, our time is fast spent. Let's get into a very short break. When we come back, we are going to be taking a look at the business inside.